Over the course of his administration career, Dr. Smith has served as principal of Eastwood Middle School and principal of Pike High School Freshman Center. And in 2014, he was selected as the superintendent of our great Lawrence Township School District. As many of you know, our LT schools are award-winning, serve over 15,000 students, and is the 9th largest school district in the state of Indiana. He serves on numerous district committees as well as numerous boards in the community. He's not only committed to educating students and serving this community, he's also dedicated to his family. Tabitha Smith, his wife of 24 years, and his 3 children.
26.
26. Tabitha, if you're in the room, please forgive me.
Yeah, she's not here.
Duly corrected by your nice job.
I'm on the mic.
And his 3 children, Olivia, Maya, and Jordan. So it is my honor to introduce him to this dais and this lecture. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Sean Smith.
Thanks a lot. Well, we got to get that right. 26 years. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. So good to be here on this cold February morning, but we're going to have a good time this morning. And we're going to talk about the Metropolitan School District of Lawrence Township. Let me first of all, with proper protocol, introduce some very important people who are the overseers, the trustees of the school corporation. We are privileged this morning. We have a quorum, Mr. President. We have more than a quorum. If I can have our board members to stand, I first of all would like to introduce our president of our school board, Mr. Reginald McGregor. We have our vice president, Mr. Dick Freege, Mr. Richard Freege. Our secretary is here, Wendy Mustin. And board member, Sean Denny is here. We have a 5-member board, and I do. For those of you that run businesses, I have 5 bosses. Okay, how you like that? It's fun. It is. The Board of Education, it obviously sets the tone for the school corporation and the vision for what we do in terms of educating students. Folks, let's go on a little bit of a journey. Dana, you ready to go? I've got a whole team of people who are here with me today who are going to talk about the school corporation because I can't do it by myself. I set the vision, I lead our guys, but I have tremendous educators from top to bottom throughout our organization. We are the Metropolitan School District of Lawrence Township. We serve the northeast side of Indianapolis, the city of Lawrence and Indianapolis, okay? But this is what we believe. Through innovation and dedication, we educate, and I want you to look at the pictures that we have here. We educate because we truly educate all students. Keep going, Dana. Through graduation. This is where it starts, ladies and gentlemen. We take youngsters from preschool age and we guide them all the way to adulthood. And these young people are our future. So I want adults to stop, because sometimes when I get in conversation with adults, we talk about, boy, things are really bad. Kids don't, well, we got to stop. We got to stop saying that. Because what is happening today is we have more kids graduating from our high schools in the state of Indiana, specifically in Lawrence Township, than we ever have. The vast majority of our students are going to go on to bigger and better things. And we're so proud of that picture because every year we're graduating close to or over 1,100 students in this community. As a matter of fact, that's the largest number of students in Marion County. Graduate more kids in the Indianapolis Public Schools, okay, in terms of numbers. So we're proud of that picture. Keep going, Dana. So who are we? Chase at the beginning mentioned that we're the 9th largest school district in the state of Indiana. And over the last 4 years, 5 years, we're going to go to 5 years, we've been growing pretty rapidly. As a school corporation, we have grown by 1,200 kids in 4 years. That's a lot of young people that are coming to our school corporation. And there's a reason for that. So we're certainly proud of the history, the great programs we have. You're standing in. Mr. Schwarzkopf, and I always support him with this, but I'm biased, but we know we're one of the top career centers in the state of Indiana. It's right here in your district, okay? We're number 1, aren't we, Frank? Absolutely, all right? And we should be proud of that as a community. And obviously families want their kids to be here, to be educated in this facility. Keep going, Dana. So let's talk about the business side of what we do. We do have a lot of students. When I came last year, we had 15,936 students. Did I get that right, Corey? Is Corey around? Yeah. We had a little jingle with that, didn't we? We had a song that went with that. How about this year, 16,165 students, okay, in our public schools. We have over 2,500 employees. My HR director is not here, but I would expect, Mr. Shreves, my CFO, that number changes every single day. We have over 2,500 employees that directly work for the school corporation and other people that work indirectly for us. I see our partners from Community Health Network here, and they provide all of our nurses indirectly. So we have school nurses that they provide. How about a logistical thing we do? We have 225 school buses. You see those yellow buses roaming around the community? Mr. Smith here, our Director of Operations, has to oversee all that. It is an orchestra that he conducts every single morning, moving those buses around the district. And then we have 23 buildings. We have a very large footprint of buildings to educate all of our students, and we're certainly very proud about what we do with all those facilities. You're going to hear in just a second some things we've got planned for the future. Okay? Branding and marketing our school district. How many of you notice that we have, and I'm proud of our partnership we have with the City of Lawrence and surrounding to promote our school corporation, but you know, we're in the business of educating kids, and we have a lot of competition, and often public schools don't do a very good job of talking about what they have to offer and selling their brand, but we certainly are a brand. And if you look on that sign, you'll notice some things that this community is certainly proud of. Dr. Gagleim, secondary, we have 5 national championships, 44 state championships. Pretty proud of that, aren't we? And you'll see that all over the city of Lawrence. Great city, great schools, great people, and we're certainly proud of that. Okay, our schools, and we can go through those quickly, Dana, but you'll see how we brand our schools, okay? And I love the elementary kids. They love their mascots and their logos. They love it. And then we get to the big boys, the big high schools, the Bears, the Wildcats, and our middle schools, and that's very important to this community, okay? Mr. Shreves, let's talk about how we do business in this community, because I think our business partners need to understand the scope and size of what we do in public education.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We've talked in the past how much money we spend in our general fund and all our taxing funds. And our general fund's mainly salaries, but we thought we'd show you a little different scenario this morning of other areas where we spend money. Like in transportation, we spend $52,000 a day to transport our kids back and forth to school. We serve lunch and breakfast every day. There's another $57,000 there a day we spend feeding our future. Our staff salaries, we spend, you can see they're $370,000 a day, $6,000 a student per year. And on our total budget, we're spending over $700,000 a day just to keep our district running, to educate all 16,000 plus of those students. Everybody thinks we get a lot of federal dollars. Most of it's local dollars and state dollars. Out of our $180-some million, we only get about $8 million from the federal government. The astonishing thing, if you look at the bottom, how many meals we serve a day. Now, we have more kids than that, so some kids bring their lunch, eat other alternatives there, but we serve 12,000 lunches and 7,000 breakfasts every day to our students, so that they can be well fed and enjoy their educational process and learn.
Thank you, Michael. That's an incredible investment, isn't it? And the investment has great return and great dividends for all of us. Now, I'm looking around the room. I don't plan to be around forever. And if we don't educate our children, we're going to have a problem. And we are educating them. So the investment is certainly going to be a tremendous return, what we do in educating our students in the school corporation. Go ahead, Dana. Okay. I want Mr. Troy Noder, who is our Director of Curriculum, to come up and talk about some of the innovative things that we have going on with student achievement.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Our mission around student achievement is to prepare students for the new economy. We recognize that the world of work is much different today than it was even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So we've got several things that we're working on to get to that mission. The first one is a massive professional development initiative to really transform our classrooms from teacher-centered classrooms where most of the work's being done from the teachers and the students are passive recipients of learning, to student-centered classrooms with rigor, where we're really taking our students to the highest levels of thinking, analyzing, decision-making, problem-solving, and working on some of those soft skills that we know that students need to enter the world of work or the world of university. Being able to collaborate to solve problems, being able to communicate solutions to problems. So that's a massive professional development effort that we're under across our entire district right now. Our community has also asked us to expand our bilingual opportunities for students. And so we have answered, and Dr. Reiki will describe that a little more in a minute, but we are expanding our bilingual education opportunities, both for our native English speakers, and we have a large Spanish-speaking population in our community as well. And we know that the research tells us that the best way for those students to learn English is by making sure that their literacy in their first language, Spanish, is as good as it can be. We are beginning an initiative around STEM for all. In so many school districts, STEM is relegated to specific students, students that attend a certain school, or students that are in a certain program. In our district, we recognize that all of our students need access to STEM education. So we convened it was about a 50-member panel, coalition that came together representing business. So we had representatives from Roche, from Lilly, we had representatives from Rolls-Royce, along with universities and our educators that came together to develop what that plan would look like. So STEM for All, we're just beginning that process and looking at K-12. So beginning with our kindergartners, what's STEM look like in kindergarten? And how does that grow through the elementary schools? Early literacy and math. We know that our students have to have that strong foundation in literacy and math in order to be successful. So that's a major part of our work as well. Graduation pathways. There's a lot going on at the State Department right now. So we've got to make sure that we're aligning with the graduation pathway so that our students are well prepared for graduation and beyond. So that's some of the work that's going on in the group.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, if you walk into our schools today, they don't look the way when we were in school. They're totally different. Our kids have devices. They are engaged in higher level thinking. They're doing things that I didn't do until I got into college. Our kids are doing it now in our elementary schools, Troy. So much has changed. We've got kids who are walking away from our school building who are multilingual because of the opportunities that we have here in Lawrence Township. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. How many of you can remember your teachers? Okay? Raise your hand if you have one individual educator that had a tremendous impact on your life, and you could say, this person touched me and I am where I am today because of this educator. Raise your hand. Probably every single one of us. Nothing has changed. Those strong relationships that we build with students last a lifetime. We influence students to do unbelievable things in public education. That's why this country is great. We can't forget that. We have many students that don't know that they will become a great musician or great scientist until they engage with a teacher. I don't care how well educated, how wealthy, no matter what we do as parents, our children are influenced sometime by others. I got a daughter who's graduating from college this year, and she wants to be a doctor. But she tells me she was influenced by that 9th grade biology teacher, not her dad. Think about that, you know? And that is tremendous and very heartfelt for a parent to know that our educators are giving to our kids in such a positive way that they're going to go out and have impact. We're going to be okay because these young people want to do great things. Our next one, new innovations. We've got something new we want to share. And we think that we are so innovative that, matter of fact, we know this, and it wasn't created by Dr. Smith. This community's been doing this over 2 decades. but we know we're doing so well with it that we have to expand out. Dr. Reekie, talk about this at the elementary level, what we have planned.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Yes, this is really exciting for our district, and it does make us even more unique than we already were before. But Forest Glen Elementary, as you probably are well aware, has been an immersion school for over 20 years. And we always have a wait list for those kindergartners and first graders wanting to get in. And so kind of the way the dual immersion works is we take them really young and then they stay with us. We don't take them in the mid-years because of the programming and making sure that they're getting the support they need to learn that second language. We have transitioned from having a full classroom of all English speakers wanting to become bilingual to a more dual language approach. And we're going to go and expand that over to Skiles Test Elementary, which is on our far west side, beginning in our kindergarten and our first grade. But the unique twist of this is they are already one of our STEM magnet schools, so we are not going to take the STEM away or make them choose. We are going to blend the two. So we'll now have our dual immersion program at Forest Glen. It'll keep continuing on, but some of those that had gotten on the wait list and maybe never got in have a second opportunity or another opportunity coming up on the west side with our dual immersion with STEM connection. So we're very excited about that. We're actually working right now, filling those seats, and we're about full. And this is February 1, which is very, very good news. And there will be a wait list for those who are English speakers, and because we are blending them with Spanish-speaking students in those classrooms, because that's the true way dual immersion works, and for fidelity and actually to enhance the learning of both groups, that's the best way to program it. So we also have an opportunity coming up with a grant from the state with preschool. And we are, of course, going to go for it and apply for that grant and hopefully be able to open up and expand preschool immersion at both immersion schools. Preschool is very different than kindergarten, different rules, etc. And so we're just introducing kindergarten and Skiles Test and now maybe even a preschool. So all of this is going to make us stronger and give more opportunities for families and communities. We also have bilingual classrooms in kindergarten and first grade. And what a bilingual classroom might not even be the best name, but what it is a full class of Spanish speakers coming to our country with very limited, if any, English speaking, with a teacher that speaks both languages. And so they are not in a dual class, but they are learning their Spanish language, their native language, along with English in a community of similar students. So we started in first grade and kindergarten this year in 4 different schools. So these are not our immersion schools. These are additional, because we have Hispanic speakers or Spanish speakers all over the district. So we took those that are most densely populated and we are now giving them an opportunity that they didn't have before. So next year we're going to be expanding to the second grade because the first graders need to be supported again because they're not quite bilingual yet. And that's the way that we're growing those programs as well. So by the fall, this is a picture of what we are offering at just the elementary level. This doesn't even speak to the middle and the high school. But we'll have our Forest Glen Elementary with about 760 students in the dual immersion program there. We'll have an elementary with kindergarten and first grade of about 100 students entering into the dual immersion world. We'll have 4 schools with first and second grade, all Spanish speaker, bilingual classrooms, learning both languages. And 2 of our early learning centers in the kindergarten programs also have a bilingual opportunity, so there's another 80 students. We have many more Spanish speakers who are not in any of these programs, and we have more English speakers wanting into these programs, so it's still a demand, but here we're listening to our community and expanding in a very smart, productive way.
Thank you, Dr. Reekie. Very, very powerful programs to meet the needs of our children. Innovation for parents who are wanting more for their kids, and also the expanding and growing population of students that we have, being able to meet their needs, because we have a lot of non-English speakers. And by the time they leave us, they will be English speakers and be productive citizens and workers in our society. So we got to think what's possible, folks. Let's go to the next one, Dana. All right, let's talk about facilities, because we can't educate kids without our footprint and our buildings, and everyone in this room in one way or another impacts what we're able to do for our children, because when you have a beautiful facility, students want to be there, staff members and parents want to bring their students there. And I want to introduce you to a gentleman, Mr. Roger Smith. Roger, are you ready? Okay. This is also the guy that helps me close school when it's snow days, so he's always up. His phone is always on. He is our Director of Operations, Mr. Smith. Talk about our Blue Ribbon facility plan.
Thank you. Good morning. Lawrence Township Schools is a huge footprint in this community, and that attracts people, as you well know, and businesses. So if we continue to invest in our school district, we can attract people, we can attract businesses, and it's a huge economic development growth for this community. We're part of that. We want to continue those efforts in our facility plan, because when we have great facilities, great education, kids are going to come. And we have proven that over the last several years. You'll see here that safety, security, and also changing our facilities to meet the current curriculum is very, very important. I want to show you what we are doing in Lawrence Township. Mackenzie, a couple years ago, we started the upgrade here. Some of you took advantage and looked at those new facilities, cosmetology, barbering, and food service. Culinary, there you go, thank you, Frank. New programs, expansion to this building, and if you haven't seen that, I really encourage you, top in the nation, what we have right here in Lawrence. Next one. Lawrence Central, you'll see that both high schools, over the last couple of years, we've upgraded and completed and dedicated the new stadiums, multi-purpose facilities, because performing arts actually use it more than football at both buildings. So it's a multi-purpose facility used by all. Also, we're in the middle of upgrading our auditoriums. Most of our facilities are 25 plus years, just like your own home. When it gets a little age on it, you want to update it. We have to do the same with our facilities, and that's where we're at today. The auditorium phase 1, LC is completed. Phase 2 will be done this summer. And of course, the end zone facilities you see there. Next slide. Lawrence North, the same. We're just now starting, actually this week, phase 1 of the auditorium. So we'll be renovating that phase 1 through May and start in June 1, phase 2 to complete those facilities. Harris Hill, currently we have 3 elementaries in our plan that we're touching. And right now, Harrison Hill is well underway. Actually, last Friday, we moved 2 teachers and their classrooms into 2 new classrooms, as we have expanded this building by 3 new classrooms. You'll see the front, kind of a community room, performing arts area. They will obtain that facility here in the next couple of weeks. Enon Creek, a new facelift in the front, brand new kitchen and cafeteria. They were, again, original equipment. As you see there, now we have 2 lines. We can get a lot of kids in and out and condense that time and effort for the school. Next slide. Skiles Test is the same. Dr. Smith likes, or really liked, their old gym when he walked into that. Hoosier hysteria at its best, pre-1960. But now they have a brand new gym, you'll see down here on the right, with a connection to a cafeteria, performing arts area. So it can all become one room, large meeting room for the school and also parents and community. And that is well underway. These 3 buildings will be completed by August. So they live at life for about 18 months. And we try to do it without impacting students and teachers. Next slide. Mary Castle, we dedicated in December. We actually expanded that facility 4 classrooms, and we didn't bridge outside the 4 walls. We actually consumed the areas of 4 courtyards, made 4 restrooms, added 4 rooms, and a new media center. This new addition is to the cafeteria to give them more space, and that is a result of that renovation. Here's the numbers. Currently, we have on the books about $57 million of renovation. 8 of those projects have been completed, and we have 6 on the books that will run through 18. In 19, you'll see Sunnyside and Amy Beverland. We've already started that process. These 2 buildings have risen to our priority list due to the fact that we have our condominiums outside, which are portables. So we want to expand those facilities and put those kids back with the other kids within those buildings. Transportation, we postponed a couple years ago. We're getting a footprint back in place on that. Actually, that facility is built for about 97 buses, and we had how many? 225. So we're a little landlocked there. But you'll also see over the next 5+ years our efforts as a district to touch each and every one of our buildings. It's important to us and our kids and our staff, but it's also very important to this community that we continue to invest in our facilities.
Right. Thank you, Roger Smith. And your team has worked very, very hard to do this, to really keep our taxes down. We've actually done a good job with that, okay? And the investment, the return on your investment community will be tremendous. It is time for us to grow. We have been growing as a school corporation, but also to make these world-class facilities for our children and their families, and we're certainly doing that. Go ahead, Dana. Okay? All right, our Board of Education commitment, we're certainly committed to excellence. I have a tremendous Board of Education that's very much engaged, elected by you in the community to oversee the school corporation, and we have worked very hard to make sure that this school corporation is topped. Our goals this year, and you can read those by yourself, but is to make sure that we have great schools academically. That is our #1 mission, is teaching and learning. So we got to make sure that we have high expectation for our educators, for our school administrators to provide quality education. We are very much focused on our graduation rate. We want every single kid to achieve a high school diploma and move on and become very productive citizens in our community and in our state. Mr. Schwarzkopf, your kids, and I would say probably the majority of our kids that are in our high school come through this building. Last year's seniors you had come through this building. Where are they now? If they came through McKenzie, where are those kids right now?
They're either in post-secondary education, so 42% of our seniors, 423 that came through here last year, 42% are strictly post-secondary, so either 2-year, 4-year degree. 38% are post-secondary and employed, so that's over 80% right there. 16% are employed, and the remaining ones work for DOD and are employed for post-secondary at the same time. So 100% of our seniors last year are accounted for. We know exactly where they are, and that's a requirement of the state. Not only that, but every one of those seniors of the 423, every one of them passed their skill attainment test here at McKenzie. So that means they passed their dual credit exam, their national certification, their state board, or some other certification like a CompTIA national IT certification, something like that. They passed that. So 100% of those seniors left here with some kind of certificate for that.
That deserves a round of applause. And for some of our students who don't make it to graduation, ladies and gentlemen, I always get this from business people because they look at the numbers. Well, Cathedral, their private school, they have 100%. Dr. Smith, you have 92%. Did you see the pictures of some of my students that I put up? I showed you pictures of all of our students. We educate some students that have mild and severe disabilities. Do you all understand that? They will never earn a high school diploma. So for those students, they will count as high school dropouts. We don't believe that, but we understand their journey. And many of those students stay with us until they're 22 years old. So you learned a fun fact. We have kids who are over 18 years old that are with us. And we help those young people and develop them so that they can have skills, and many of those students go on and they work. So when you're out at different businesses and you see young people that have disabilities, many of them on this side of town were our students, and we're trained and helped so that they can become self-sufficient. That is public education, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why we love what we do. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, our board, we want to maintain a strong fiscal outlook. The school corporation's financial health is strong, and we want to keep it that way because that allows for us to educate the kids without issue. We're not having to lay off teachers, close up buildings, or do any of that because our team and our board have worked very hard to set strong goals to keep us financially solvent, and we're very proud of that. Dana, let's go to the next one. I always love coming and talk with people, but you have questions. So what questions do you have of me as the school superintendent? Yes, sir.
Well, y'all first off, Marty, you mentioned that there's been a big increase as far as children coming into the school. What's the explanation for that?
Right.
And how do you take care of that big increase as far as?
Well, we want to take all credit, but we won't. We have to give the community credit. All of you sitting around here in the room, there's a great synergy in this side of town. People want to be here. We have families that believe, young people that believe their kids are going to get a good education. They're buying homes. Mr. Shreves and I track our enrollment very carefully. A lot of our growth is from within our borders. New people buying homes that are moving into the community. You've got some development. All of those things are great for business. It's great for the school corporation also. And we come alongside of all of you to make sure that we can provide those things that parents are looking for, and hopefully they will move in the community. Indianapolis as a whole, and many of my other colleagues around Marion County are seeing growth also because we're seeing this squeeze in of people moving into Marion County, okay, for whatever reason. So that's our theory. But when they come, we have to be prepared for them. And we have our plan with facilities. You heard we have some, I call them condominiums. We had to put some portables out at some of our, Amy Bevelman's one of those elementary, because we had more students, we're a little overcrowded. Now we're going to renovate the building so we can accommodate all those students. But we're always prepared to educate the kids, okay? Other questions? Yes?
I noticed on the facilities improvement schedule that there was a sixth grade academies.
Yes.
So is that decision finalized, and if so, what would the first students be?
That is the decision, and we're going to march to building the sixth grade centers will allow for us to deal with some of our growth issues, okay? And that will mean we will add space onto each of our middle schools so we can keep them pure. There were some concerns that we had thought about putting our sixth graders at the old Craig Middle School. We want to keep that continuity at the two middle schools, so we're going to build onto those so they will go to Lawrence Central and Lawrence North. So that is the plan, okay? We got to figure that out and how to get those, we got to get buildings built, figure out how we're going to do that, and then move in that direction. It's going to take us a few years. So kids who are currently in, I would say, second grade may be the first group to go in. So it may take us about 3 to 4 years to get them in the building, okay? Okay. Tom?
You have some special program in Harrison Hill,
Yes.
Mining Bridge to deal with the special needs
Yeah.
for kids from the 42nd Post,
Yes.
the southern border.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the
Absolutely, Tom.
programs and how you're doing it?
We are a community of such great diversity, and it's rich and it's beautiful. I have some of the wealthiest patrons in the state of Indiana. We also have some parts of our community that are very poor, but have a very strong commitment to Lawrence Township and our community. We have three of our elementary schools that have community-based programs. We have brought in community counselors and supports to work with those families in those communities. Sometime when families have issues of poverty, it comes into school. And so what we've trying to do is figure out how can we come alongside of the community with support and resources to help our families. Tom is mentioning more specifically at Harrison Hill a program called our Harmony Program, which is complete wraparound and support services for families the entire school year. So during the summer, we have feeding programs, breakfast and lunch. We have programs for kids, sports, after-school activities, anything that we can do to support our families that are in need and guide them to other agencies to help them. It's all beneficial for the school and the children. Does that make sense, folks? Okay, and it's working at 3 of our elementaries, Harrison Hill, Winding Ridge, and Brook Park Elementary, okay? And we're gonna expand it out to 2 of our other elementaries, 3, I apologize, 3, starting in the 2018-19 school year, okay? Someone else had their hand. Tom?
This is actually more of a comment, but you're the first superintendent I've heard in 8 years that didn't mention the school funding formula and how much money you need to do things you don't have.
Right.
And when you talk about the future and what you're doing, I see these $50 million projects all in the queue until 2023. Is school funding not an issue to you, or is, I know it is, but how do you overcome the funding problem that's the elephant in the room? How do you overcome that and still accomplish all this stuff?
Well, you have to know my personality, Tom. I don't tend to spend a lot of time complaining. My board knows that. My cabinet members, we try to figure out how to get it done. But there are some challenges, and we have to have very bright people to come alongside of us and support us and work with my CFO, Mr. Smith. These are very bright individuals that we're fortunate to have in the district, and it's about a plan. Roger Smith talked about our Blue Ribbon Facility Plan, which started, Roger Smith, 4 years ago, with a committee that looked at our facilities, and then from there we brought people in to help us look at our finances and really come up with a strategic plan to address the facilities. And that's what we've been able to do. We're fortunate because we have a very strong tax base in Lawrence Township. We have tremendous resources. And so that has helped us on the facility side. In terms of our financial side, Michael Shreves didn't point out, but when we talk about our budget, we have money that comes from the local tax base. But the vast majority of my budget, about $110 million to be exact, Michael, comes from downtown, Capitol Street. So I do have to go down and talk with our legislators. We have legislators here that we talk with. We know all of them. And we also have to lobby and ask our legislators to help support us. Education is an investment, ladies and gentlemen. We're all not going to be here forever. You got to think about it. Someone did it for us, and it worked well. And we have to continue to do that for our children. I educate kids from preschool age. I want you to think about that. You heard me say all the way up to 22 years old. And that investment will pay dividends in the future. Those young people will take this thing over, our society, and they will do great things that all of you are doing in the room. So that's the charge that we have to have, is that we have to pay to educate. Now, I have conversation with some adults that are my age, and well, I'm not paying any. I don't have kids in school. Okay. You got grandchildren? Do you have, you dependent on your Social Security check? I'm serious, folks. I mean, America has a great democracy if we invest in it. And we have to keep that system going, and workers and young people are going to carry us in the future. And these kids want to do great things. I've not met a kid that doesn't want to do something great in their lives. Some kids have more advantages than others, but every child we have that comes through our school buildings, they really want to achieve something. And so we've got to find a way to help them, and it works. So that's how we handle it, Tom. Okay? Other questions? Okay. It's good to see all of you. It is so good to see you. I'm going to bring up Dr. Dana Altmeyer, who's over all of our public relations and marketing. She's got a few things she wants to say, and then she's also going to talk about tours. Can we give people tours? I see Mr. Schwarzkopf here. And I just want to thank all of you for coming. Thank you. Okay. Dana?
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good morning. Thank you again for being here. We had a great turnout, and there's a lot of great information. I'm always energized when I hear about the great things that our school district is doing on behalf of the students in our community. Just a few housekeeping items. In the back, there's a great deal of information that you are welcome to help yourself to, or take a few for your colleagues at your respective businesses. Some folders, our annual reports, and some swag giveaways. We talked about branding and marketing. So be sure to help yourself to those items. Also, we had a few folks inquire about tours. This is a state-of-the-art facility that has amazing programs for students, and both Director Frank Schwarzkopf and Assistant Director Dale Sharp have made themselves available to take any of you that are interested on a tour of the building, and that will include the newly renovated cosmetology, barbering, and culinary programs. So if you have not toured this facility, I highly recommend that you do. We'll be around for a few minutes, so please don't hesitate to come up and ask any additional questions or just to say hello. So thank you again for being here this morning.
Thank you, Dana, and thank you, Dr. Dr. Smith. Thank you. And to all of the presenters this morning. Who learned some new things about our school system this morning? I did. Lots of great takeaways, for sure. And one of the takeaways that I had was people are here because you want to be here. You want to learn more about the school system, and you have pride in the school system. And I'm of the personal belief that the Chamber of Commerce, particularly our Chamber of Commerce, should really operate at the intersection of commerce and traditional business and community. And our school system is a wonderful success story in this community. So thank you once again. I think powerful, powerful information. So a couple of quick housekeeping notes, a couple of program notes to put on your radars from the Chamber. We have a couple of important community events upcoming. The first one is March 6th. The next one, I should say, is March 6th. It's the annual State of the City with Dr. Mayor Calder. It's once again to be held at the Garrison, beautiful Fort Bend campus. So if you haven't registered, we encourage you to please do so through our Chamber website. That's a little bit of a new wrinkle for some of the members who have been members of the Chamber for a long time. We're trying to push as many of those registrations as we can through our website. So please put that on your radar. And then I'm happy to announce, I alluded to this earlier, that we're bringing a new program to the Chamber. It'll be held April 18th. It'll be in this very room. So I'm really excited to come back to this wonderful facility for another program. And it's a workforce development, business sort of conversation. There'll be a panel discussion moderated by Gary Dick of Insight Indiana Business. And we're looking at strong business segments and growing business segments in Lawrence, traditional trades, technology, and innovation. And what a coincidence, what do they teach these young people in this facility, right? Those three things. So I think it's a great venue to have this event. We're excited about that. So let's see, I think that's, one final thing. In the back of the room, I noticed we do have a lot of leaders, community leaders in this room. So if I could take a moment for a personal request, when we have various chamber events, like a chamber breakfast or an after-hours event or whatnot, a lot of our members really have mentioned several times to me that they would like to see more of our community leaders, civic, etc., involved. So you are all welcome. Please join us, even if it's just a routine and not a special event like today is, but even if it's a routine sort of chamber breakfast, we really want to see as many of you folks in the room as you can. So thank you very much. Tours, I think, are next. We appreciate you being here, and we'll see you hopefully March 6th for the State of the City. Have a great day.